Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with the WWE Monday Night Raw broadcast live last night on the USA Network from the Amway Arena in Orlando, Florida. In the main event, Bayley and Becky Lynch squared off in the steel cage that was originally advertised for the Raw 30th anniversary show 2 weeks ago. Lynch defeated Bayley in the cage via pinfall, gaining an assist from a returning Lita, who came down to ringside to even the odds after Lynch was being subjected to outside interference from both Dakota Kai and Io Sky of Damage Control.
Lita, the WWE Hall of Famer is here! The numbers game fading before our very eyes. Lita just pulled Io off the cage. This is unbelievable. This is shocking. Of anyone who could come to the aid of Lynch, no one expected this. Twist of fate. What an impact! Lita!
This was Lita's first WWE television appearance since last year's Elimination Chamber event in which she lost to Lynch, who was then the Raw Women's Champion. The show featured an in-ring promo between the number one contender to the WWE Universal Championship, Cody Rhodes, and Paul Heyman, consultant to Universal Champ Roman Reigns.
You, Cody, were his favorite son. But Roman Reigns was the son he always wanted. You're hurting me.
You know, I'm just trying to win a wrestling championship, and everybody wants to make it personal. And that's what you just did, and you're not gonna pay for it, Mr. Heyman. Your boy, Roman Reigns, is going to pay for it at WrestleMania when I take those titles personally.
In another promo segment between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, Lesnar hit Lashley with 2 F5s, and it was later announced that they would sign a contract next week to face each other at the Elimination Chamber Premium Live event on February 18th. Edge and Beth Phoenix also opened the show with a promo segment in which they challenged Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley of Judgment Day to a mixed tag team match at Elimination Chamber. In the last 2 qualifying matches for the men's Elimination Chamber match for the United States title, Damian Priest beat Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford beat Elias. Following Ford's win, Seth Rollins attacked U.S. champ Austin Theory, who had been seated at ringside for the match. In a qualifier for the Women's Elimination Chamber, Carmella emerged victorious from a fatal 4-way with Mia Yim, Candice LeRae, and Piper Niven, pinning LeRae. In other results, Dexter Lumis beat Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin defeated the Alpha Academy when Alexander pinned Chad Gable, and Asuka defeated Chelsea Green by submission in Green's first singles match in 3.5 months and her first in WWE since November of 2020. In ratings news, last Friday night's post-Royal Rumble episode of WWE SmackDown on Fox drew 2.384 million viewers, down more than 6% from the 2.544 million that tuned in for the Royal Rumble Go-Home episode the week before, according to Showbuzz Daily. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was also down, coming in at 0.61, which translates to 790,000 viewers and represents a drop of almost 9% from the previous week's 0.67 key demo rating, according to WrestleNomics. The episode ranked number 1 on network TV for the key demo. AEW Rampage, which aired last Friday night on TNT, drew its lowest audience in 2 months, bringing in 406,000 viewers, down over 11% from the previous week's audience of 458,000, according to Showbuzz Daily. The total viewership was the lowest of 2023 so far, and the lowest since the December 2nd episode. In the key demographic, the rating for the show came in at 0.11, down over 20% from the previous week's key demo rating of 0.14, according to WrestleNomics. The key demo rating equates to 149,000 viewers. It was the lowest key demo rating for the show since the December 9th episode. The episode was down almost 25% from the same week in 2022 in total viewership and down 45% in the key demographic. In ticket sales news, WrestleTix reported yesterday that tomorrow night's AEW Dynamite taping at the El Paso County Coliseum in El Paso, Texas, still had 877 tickets available, with 3,647 distributed. The show will mark AEW's debut in the building and the first wrestling show by a non-Lucha Libre promotion in a decade. The arena was once the site of weekly cards from promoter Sam Menaker in the 1950s, Gory Guerrero in the 1960s, and the Funk Family in the 1970s. In independent wrestling news, 3 wrestlers signed to All Elite Wrestling and Ring of Honor have been pulled from an upcoming Beyond Wrestling show due to a scheduling conflict with ROH TV tapings, according to a Twitter announcement from Beyond Wrestling. AEW's Wheeler Yuta was among the wrestlers pulled from Beyond Wrestling's Perfection or Vanity event in Worcester, Massachusetts, scheduled for February 26, in addition to Tracy Williams and Trish Adora, both of whom were part of the ROH roster prior to Tony Khan's purchase of the company and have appeared on ROH and AEW events since. All 3 are expected to be used at Ring of Honor's TV taping the same weekend, according to reports from Voices of Wrestling and Fightful. Originally announced as pulled from the event was also Willow Nightingale, but Beyond Wrestling has since confirmed that she will still be appearing at the Perfection or Vanity event. Beyond Wrestling has offered refunds to any fans who might request them due to the absence of previously advertised talent. An update on the condition of Wayne Coleman, better known as Superstar Billy Graham. Coleman's wife Valerie continues to update fans on Facebook of her husband's health struggles. Last week, it was reported on Coleman's GoFundMe page that he had been in the Mayo Hospital ICU for 3 weeks and had also spent time in a physical rehabilitation center. Coleman has been dealing with congestive heart failure, diabetes, and hearing loss as a result of an ear infection which spread to bones of his skull, which was the original cause of his hospitalization last month. It was reported that Coleman has lost 45 pounds in the last 3 weeks, and he will need to be transferred to a skilled nursing facility after his condition stabilizes. His GoFundMe account was set up to help defer some of his mounting healthcare costs with a fundraising goal of $25,000. And in some more unfortunate news, former WCW wrestler Charlie Norris has passed away at the age of 57, according to reports yesterday from the Cauliflower Alley Club and other sources. Born a member of the Chippewa tribe in Red Lake, Minnesota, Norris had tried out with the WWF in 1991 for the Native American Tatanka gimmick that ultimately went to Chris Chavis, but he's best remembered for a stint in WCW during 1993 and 1994. A student of promoter and trainer Eddie Sharkey, Norris broke into the business in 1989 in Sharkey's Minnesota-based PWA promotion. After leaving WCW in the start of 1994, he returned to the Minnesota independent scene and continued to work independents throughout the Midwest and Texas, as well as a 6-month tour of Japan in 1997. He left the business in the early 2000s. Norris was critical of his time in WCW, and after leaving the company, filed a successful lawsuit citing racial discrimination, which included claims of underpayment and being made to perform racially insulting and demeaning acts related to his Native American heritage as part of his in-ring persona. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.